Good morning, everyone. Good morning.
Good morning.
I can't hear a noise from the hall. Good morning. Okay, good morning. Good to see everyone this morning. And today we are talking about one with AI and how we can learn how to power electric vehicles with AWS. So I'm excited to see everyone this morning. Before I introduce myself and my wonderful co-hosts, I would like to just set the stage a bit. So, you know how we talk about artificial intelligence, we talk about cloud, we talk about electric mobility. So, today's event is not just about AI, it is not just about artificial intelligence, it is not about cloud. It is what happens when the three of them come together. What can we do with it? So, welcome everyone this morning. And okay, so my name is Diogo Anyekwe, and I'm a senior information security analyst at Digis, and a whole lot of other things, Sha, but I would like to allow Osinachi to give us a brief of himself, and then we can officially start.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Please, it doesn't seem like we are excited to be here. I know we started late and we apologize dearly for that, but please, it would be very nice if we can get a response from you guys, a happy and excited response. So, if I say good morning, please respond accordingly. Good morning. Yes, thank you very much. So my name is Osinachi Obara. I'm a software engineer and developer advocate, and I'm really happy to be a co-host for this event. Like Diogo already said, we will be having this event as a combination of topics. So we'll be discussing AI, we'll be discussing AWS and cloud computing, and we will also be discussing electric vehicles, EV for short. We'll be discussing how they come together and how we can make them all work together in Africa, in Nigeria as a whole. I hope you are excited for that. Yes, on to the next, the first event of the morning, or of the entire event. We should be having the opening remark now from the convener of the event, but we'll be moving forward to the first keynote speech by our first keynote speaker, Alexander Lenk, and we will be doing the opening remark when the convener is available to do that. So, are we ready for the first keynote? Yeah. Are we ready for the first keynote?
We can't hear our voices. Are we ready?
I want your voices to be louder than mine. Are we ready for the first keynote? Amazing, 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 amazing. So, Alexander Lenk, 20 plus years in research, consulting, and leading cloud innovation for automotive and manufacturing. His team supports the world's largest automotive customers on their cloud journey. Previously worked on connected vehicles and automotive data platforms at BMW. Regular spokesperson for AWS in Handelsblatt. I'm very sorry if I mispronounced that. I'm very sorry. Handelsblatt and Automobile Work. Advisory board member of the Automotive Computing Conference. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the first keynote speaker, Dr. Alexander Lenk. He will be speaking on the cloud-first electric future, what AWS is building for mobility. Please, another round of applause.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for having me. My name is Dr. Alexander Lenk. I'm leading here at AWS the solution architecture team for our automotive and manufacturing customers. based out of EMEA. So basically think of all the big automotive manufacturing companies. Those are the customers I work on a regular basis with. And I'm very excited to be here today to speak to you and to tell you what AWS can do for automotive, but I think also in the wider space for the mobility sector. Unfortunately, I cannot be there in person. Hopefully the next time, but I'm really excited to have this talk here with you. If you're thinking about the automotive and the wider mobility industry, we have seen in the past years quite a few opportunities emerging. We have seen a big shift away from pure hardware towards software. We're talking about how those new experiences being shaped in the future, intelligent, personalized features. You see about more autonomous vehicles. This means highly assisted driving, but then also this could be smaller devices, could be mean whole cars, and the way how we basically can be supporting here in order to make this reality in the different parts of the world. We see a lot of mobility companies and automotive companies also have a different way how they want to interact with their customers when it comes to marketing, when it comes to presenting the new product offerings in the digital and the physical world. And then, of course, it's the whole process of manufacturing in a sense of like, how do you create new and smarter products? How do you make sure that the devices, the vehicles that are being developed are being developed in the most, the cheapest and most possible, or in the best possible way. Here at AWS, we have basically put this all under the umbrella of AWS for automotive. And we are heavily working for the past 5 to 6 years on creating really the most comprehensive purpose-built automotive services and solutions. We matching this with industry experience. For example, before I started at AWS, was working on the automotive side, working for BMW, and switched over in order to help the industry overall, and the wider ecosystem and the wider context. And then I think very important, we have a very broad partner ecosystem. We are relying on partners like Athlite, who are closely working with us and can help you to basically bring your solution to AWS. If you look into the whole area of automotive and of different areas, like we want to think in different categories in which we can help our customers. On the one, I think software-defined vehicle. There was a lot of shit. How can I make the in-vehicle experience better? How can I make sure that that's being delivered to the car is done this in a professional, repeatable way, and the car itself is not just many pieces of hardware. Actually, the software is a tissue in between that can basically bring all of this together. Connected mobility and electric vehicles, I think, is a big focus point as well. And I had brought some examples there. Basically, how do I connect the device to the back end? How do I basically get telemetry data out? How do I help? Where can I charge? How can I swap a battery? Things like this. As in this category, we mentioned digital experience, right? Like I can increase some engagement, how I can have a different channel in order to get to my customers. Mobility, autonomous mobility, I think, is the one that has been in different parts of the world, like in the United States and in China, had a big push in the past years, and where we see a lot of robotaxis already on the street. Other parts of the world is currently developing. And then you're looking into product engineering, manufacturing, right? Like, how do I create these physical devices? How do I create cars in the future? How do I create motorcycles and so on? And make sure I'm doing this in a very condensed timeline, time market increasing, and making sure we are basically having here the quickest possible turnaround. And then, of course, supply chain, big topics. I have a lot of material streams. If you think of a vehicle, like how many 1,000 different options and millions of options I have, how do I basically manage the supply chain to make sure from the raw materials over parts, combination of these parts, and how can I basically bring all of this together in the most efficient and also in a way that it's not easily disrupted by global events. So when we think about how do we basically work with partners, how can we achieve outcomes, it's again these three different buckets. We are building purpose-built solutions and services. This is basically repeatable patterns that we as AWS have seen with customers. Either they are AWS services, or we basically have this solutions, which is basically means a good practice architecture that can be used in order to put these AWS services together. And then again, we have a big partner ecosystem, partners who have worked with different customers and are experienced in taking the AWS services and putting them together in the best possible way, engaging with customers, and then also deploy these solutions for our customer base. Let's dive into the different areas. Software-defined vehicle. In the end, and you can see this, and we've seen this also in the screen with the categories, in the end, a lot what we are doing is really bring around data. How can data be made available? How can data be collected? I mean, if you think about an organization, you have data that's coming from different parts. You have data that's happening in the supply chain. You have data that's then being created in the manufacturing process. You have the sales channels and so on. And in the end, the data will somehow being collected in the field. And there is always the possibility that something that happens in the field, because there might be defects on the road for a certain device, for a certain car or motorcycle, and so on. And I can, if I have the possibility to trace that back into my manufacturing process, I have a possibility to fix it down the road. So how can I basically create this data? How can I create a data lake on AWS in order to put my sensors, put my ERP, CRM data, so customer data, manufacturing data, all of that together in order to do machine learning on top, use Gen AI to ask questions, for example, for people in the field, if they wanna fix something and they might see some patterns. And then how basically also can I do deployments that are from the central data lake with the data out to maybe repair shops or dealerships or sales channels that they also have the access to this data. So if you think about software-defined vehicle, and again, this is more coming from the car field, we talk a lot about like how do we modernize the back end of these existing manufacturers. Like think of a BMW, think of a Volkswagen, Toyota, Honda. They have all started with their connected vehicle backends for some time ago, and we have seen them now in the past years moving more and more towards a cloud infrastructure like AWS. So we're working with all of them to basically move their data and their applications into AWS to really have like a cloud scalable backend and to have access to this data. If you think about the way how the data can be transferred, you have services on the cloud side. We have offerings like Outposts that can be more on the edge, and then obviously you have the vehicle where you also need some data integration. One big topic, I think this is where we are pretty proud as a differentiator, is we spend a lot of time into basically developing with some of our vehicle manufacturing partners in creating parity between the onboard technology and the cloud technology. A lot what's happening on board in the entertainment system, for example, is ARM-based, as in the CPU type. And we have our own ARM-based CPUs in our cloud instances. So it's already pretty close. And so what we have spent a lot of time is how do we bring this together? How do we basically get away from the typical way how a new car was being developed is basically you create an ECU with an ARM-based CPU in it, and people have to wait before they can develop software until this hardware is available to them. And then they develop software, and then they start testing, and then it goes in the field. And this takes a very long time, right? Like the way until the hardware is there, no one basically can develop software. What we have started, and we worked with ARM and others there directly, is like, can we start this process early? Can we basically give every developer a development environment where they have a cloud-based instance available, and they can start developing in-vehicle software immediately. So instead of waiting until the first hardware is available, and then maybe you only have like 20 devices, right? Like for 1,000 developers, you're basically creating 1,000 developer desktops, and everyone can develop for themselves in a very similar environment that it would be existing later in the car. This was a big enabler.